The transition we call menopause is often described as a sunset, but in the quiet corridors of your biology, it is more like a sophisticated recalibration of your inner thermostat and fuel system. For decades, your body operated with a certain rhythmic predictability, guided by the steady hand of estrogen. You might think of estrogen as a master conductor that ensures every instrument, from your brain to your metabolism, plays in perfect harmony. However, as we cross the threshold into our mid-40s and 50s, that conductor begins to step away from the podium and the music starts to change. One of the most profound shifts happens in how your cells respond to energy, specifically the way they process glucose. In our younger years, estrogen acted like a golden key, making it effortless for our cells to open their doors and welcome sugar in for fuel. Evidence suggests that as estrogen levels decline, those doors become a bit more stubborn, leading to a phenomenon known as insulin resistance. This is not a failure of your willpower. It is a physiological shift where your body begins to handle sugar with less grace than it once did. When sugar lingers in your bloodstream instead of being tucked away into your cells, it sets off a cascade of invisible events. It is associated with an increase in systemic inflammation, which is essentially a low-grade fire smoldering within your tissues. This internal heat doesn't just contribute to the physical discomfort we often feel in our joints or the sudden spikes in our body temperature. It affects the very architecture of our long-term health. We are learning that during this season of life, our bodies become exquisitely sensitive to the spikes and crashes of glucose. Understanding this shift is the first step toward reclaiming your vibrancy. It is about recognizing that your biological engine hasn't broken down. It simply requires a different, more refined grade of fuel to run smoothly. By looking at sugar not as a moral failing but as a chemical messenger that speaks to your hormones, you begin to see the path toward balance. This isn't about restriction for the sake of a number on a scale. It is about providing your nervous system with the stability it craves during a time of immense transformation. Your body is asking for a new kind of partnership, one where you provide the steady, slow-burning energy that allows your cells to thrive even without their old conductor. As we peel back the layers of how sugar interacts with this new hormonal landscape, you will see that the foggy brain and the restless nights aren't just part of getting older. They are often signals that your internal chemistry is searching for a new equilibrium. We are moving toward a place of profound clarity, where you can finally understand why the habits that served you at 30 no longer work at 50, and more importantly, how a few sophisticated adjustments can make you feel more like yourself than you have in years. Imagine waking up at precisely 3:15 in the morning, your skin damp against the cool linens and your heart racing for no apparent reason. You lie there in the velvet silence of your bedroom, your mind suddenly spinning with a mental checklist of every task you didn't finish and every worry you've tucked away. This is the classic sugar spike masquerading as a midnight anxiety attack. In the American household, we have been conditioned to believe that a little treat in the evening is our hard-earned reward for a day of high-performance multitasking. Perhaps it was that extra glass of Chardonnay or a few pieces of dark chocolate after dinner, consumed while catching up on emails. You felt a temporary sense of calm, a fleeting embrace of dopamine that whispered you were finally relaxing. But while you slept, your internal chemistry was staging a silent rebellion. Because your body now processes that evening glucose with less efficiency, your blood sugar rose too high, and in a frantic attempt to find balance, your pancreas overcompensated. By the time 3 in the morning rolled around, your blood sugar crashed, triggering a surge of cortisol and adrenaline, the body's emergency alarm system, to wake you up and find more fuel. You aren't awake because you are inherently stressed. You are awake because your biology is on a roller coaster that you unknowingly started hours ago. We often see this reflected in our reflection the next morning, the slight puffiness under the eyes, the inexplicable brain fog that makes your first cup of coffee feel like a desperate necessity rather than a morning ritual. You might find yourself standing in front of your pantry at 10 in the morning, searching for something, anything, to give you that quick hit of energy to survive the next conference call. There is a deeply held myth in our culture that as we age, we simply lose our edge or that our metabolism dies. We are told to just eat less and move more, a mantra that has left millions of women feeling exhausted and defeated. But what if I told you that the weight creeping around your midsection and that feeling of being tired but wired isn't about calories at all? It is about a specific metabolic glitch that occurs when your hormones and sugar collide in this specific window of life. We have been taught to focus on the wrong enemy. It isn't the quantity of food that is betraying you. It is the hidden timing and the specific chemical sequences of what you consume. There is a hidden mechanism, a secret regarding how your body prioritizes fuel that almost no one is talking about. Once you understand this one fundamental shift in how your cells communicate, the mystery of the menopause middle and those restless nights begins to evaporate, revealing a version of yourself that is steady, focused, and profoundly energized. We often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of healthy mistakes, reaching for a morning green juice packed with fruit or a fat-free yogurt that we've been told is the gold standard of a disciplined diet. In reality, these choices are often sugar bombs in disguise, hitting your bloodstream with the force of a tidal wave at a time when your insulin sensitivity is at its lowest. The most common error I see is the attempt to white-knuckle through the day, relying on caffeine and willpower to mask the instability of our blood sugar levels. When you reach for that mid-afternoon granola bar, thinking you are making a sensible choice, you are actually feeding the very inflammation that makes your hot flashes more intense and your moods more volatile. The secret isn't in deprivation, it is in the sophisticated art of clothing your carbohydrates. If you want to enjoy a piece of sourdough or a bowl of berries, you must never let them travel through your system alone. By pairing them with high-quality proteins and healthy fats, think of a luxurious avocado or a handful of raw walnuts, you create a metaphorical buffer that slows the absorption of glucose. This simple shift prevents the sharp spikes that leave you feeling depleted 2 hours later. Another subtle mistake is the order in which we eat. Evidence suggests that if you start your meal with fiber, a crisp green salad, or some roasted vegetables, before touching your proteins or starches, you can significantly flatten your glucose curve. This is an accessible, natural tool you can apply at your very next meal. It requires no special equipment and no expensive supplements. It only requires a shift in perspective. I want you to mentally walk through your kitchen right now and identify the naked sugars that have been sneaking into your routine. Perhaps it is the splash of sweetened creamer in your coffee or the honey drizzled over your morning oats. Tomorrow morning, try a savory start instead. Opt for eggs with spinach or smoked salmon on a bed of greens. Notice how your focus remains sharp well into the afternoon and how that frantic need for a snack simply disappears. When you stop the roller coaster of glucose, you give your hormones the space they need to breathe and recalibrate. You are not just managing your weight, you are protecting your brain health and your bone density for the decades to come. This is where your power lies, in the small, intentional choices that signal to your body that it is safe, nourished, and no longer under the stress of constant chemical fluctuations. We are moving toward a place where your health is no longer a source of anxiety, but a foundation of your personal strength. This shift in how you relate to sugar is far more than a dietary adjustment. It is an act of profound self-respect during a season where many women feel they are losing control over their own narratives. When you stabilize your blood sugar, you are essentially quieting the internal noise, allowing the true version of yourself to resurface, the woman who is patient, vibrant, and deeply present. It is emotional work as much as it is biological. Every time you choose a nourishing, steady fuel over a quick, disruptive spike, you are sending a message to your nervous system that the emergency is over. You are telling your body that it is being cared for, listened to, and supported through its transformation. The destiny of your health in these second acts of life is not written in stone by your genetics or your age. It is shaped by these quiet daily moments of intention. As you move forward, remember that your vitality is a precious resource that deserves protection. While this information is rooted in the latest understanding of metabolic health and is designed to empower your journey, please remember that this conversation is for educational purposes and is not a substitute for the personalized medical advice of your healthcare provider. Always consult with a professional before making significant changes to your health regimen, especially during the complexities of perimenopause and menopause. We are looking toward a future where you don't just survive this transition, but use it as a catalyst to become the most resilient version of yourself. Small, sophisticated changes, like those we have discussed, ripple outward, affecting your sleep, your mood, and your long-term longevity. You are not declining, you are refining. By mastering the secret language of your blood sugar, you are taking the reins of your health and ensuring that your next chapters are defined by clarity, strength, and an enduring sense of well-being. This is your time to feel at home in your body again, perhaps for the very first time.